Mazda is ramping up their commitment to electric vehicles to the tune of $11 billion. This is all leading to more EV mix by 2030. It includes new platforms, new powertrains, and new cars. That's right, cars! We're going to cover all this and more, so stay tuned.
More car vids. More car vids.
So Mazda released their midterm management update towards 2030. And before we get into the details of that, let's address what everybody's talking about, this awesome new concept that they showed in the last few minutes of a 36-minute video. This is the vision study concept. It's really got the attention of everyone because it's a two-door coupe, which everybody immediately thinks the next RX. And it could, in fact, have a rotary engine based on the latest MX-30 technology that we may have next year. The first thing I thought was next-gen Miata, whether that's called an NE or NF, or NG, whatever it's going to be called, or a Miata EV later on down the road. Jumping into their midterm management plans, it really comes down to 3 phases. As you can see here, the first phase is 2022 to 2024, so we're in that phase now. Then the second one jumps to 2025 to 2027, and the last one is 2028 to 2030. And Mazda is planning in 2030 to have increased consumer choices, a better electric supply infrastructure, change in power mix with alternative fuels, and an evolution of battery technology. The first phase that we're currently in is to enhance technology and development for the age of electrification. We have opened the U.S. plant in this phase. Also, the introduction of the large product models, which will include mild hybrid and plug-in hybrid, of course, in the CX-60 through the CX-90. And boy, we can't wait for the CX-90 here. Phase 2 of 2025 to 2027 is the transition to electrification. And how Mazda's doing that is through this building block concept, and we already have introduced several of these. Of course, the small product group is what we currently see in the CX-30, the Mazda 3, and the CX-50. This will also be what the next generation CX-5 is on, and we can't forget, as we're looking at this slide here, the current MX-30 that is Mazda's first EV. So we've got this transverse layout, then we build up to the large product group, which it was introduced with the CX-60, and we'll see with the 70, 80, and 90, of course, with more electrification and a longitudinal layout. And then later down the road, late term of this phase 2, we'll see a new EV architecture, or a Skyactiv scalable EV architecture, which will be new EV models. Now let me zoom in on this one here, because as you can see, we have crossovers and cars. So yes, as we've talked about before, Mazda will be returning to cars because that's the best efficient vehicle on the road in most cases because of weight, size, and wind management, or coefficient of drag. Because they're kind of late to the party in this phase 2, they will be looking to procure batteries from other suppliers. Then the enhancement of battery technology development, and as I mentioned, the latter half of phase 2, so 2026 or 2027, we will see an advanced launch of some battery electric vehicles. Moving on to the last phase, phase 3, this is the full-scale launch of BEVs, and in this specific phase, we will shift all the way to electrification, invest in our own battery production. And when I say shift into full electrification, that means we will have 100% electrification through the whole line. So every product available, every vehicle line, will have an electric model or two available, whether that's a hybrid, plug-in, mild, or full battery electric vehicle. Now, if you remember several months back when we were talking about the sustainable zoom of 2030, Mazda was expecting 25% of their global sales to be EVs or BEVs. However, now they've shifted that number to 25 to 40%. Automotive News was the first that I saw to announce their commitment of 1.5 trillion yen, which equates to about 10.6 billion. That's quite an investment for this size of an auto manufacturer, and that proves to you and to me how they are committed to giving us more offers and electrification, which will reach a broader audience moving forward. Now, Mazda realizes the importance of the North American market, specifically the United States, to their growth of not only vehicles in general, but EVs, especially with recent legislation of the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, that is changing how EV tax credits will be paid or awarded for specific vehicles. Only EVs produced in North America. So in his talk, Morimoto-san mentioned how North America is the most important market for them, and given the importance of this market, they hope to manufacture EVs in North America at some point. However, Morimoto-san also mentioned that these early Phase 2 EVs will more than likely be going into the Chinese market because of their infrastructure and consumer popularity already. With the addition of the Alabama plant and, of course, the best increase of production they can, Mazda is predicting a global sales total of 1.8 million vehicles by the end of the fiscal year in 2025. So if those numbers were to stay the same, which hopefully they continue to grow, but if they stayed the same, by the end of 2030, that means that Mazda would be selling 720,000 EVs. Mazda also shared how they would be adding several partners to help with production and their push towards electrification. Because they're somewhat late to the game, they cannot necessarily rely on their own availability. They will have to partner with more products for semiconductors, these chips, and also more batteries as they partner with several companies to help get the components necessary to push to more electrification, specifically BEVs, sooner than they originally thought. Now, I think what really sums up the 36-minute video and all the press release is this slide that was released by Mazda Canada. As you can see up top here in 2022, they released the MX-30 EV, and then moving forward, 2023, we have the new large platform coming. Then 2024, the CX-50 hybrid, which will be Toyota's hybrid system, the hybrid synergy drive, but available to North America, where Toyota is basically leading the pack. In 2025, we will see a new battery electric vehicle or full EV, which may be this vision study, but more likely will be more of a passenger vehicle instead of a specialty vehicle, and 4 new hybrids. So I'm predicting that in 2025, we will see that next generation of CX-5 with a hybrid availability. 2025 to 2030 will be more BEVs, and this is when they will release that new EV scalable platform so that they can have basically vehicles of all sizes and all needs run on that same platform, much like we see on the shared platform of the small transverse layout and the large longitudinal layout. And then, of course, 2030 will be 100% electrified line, the entire line. I think that wraps it up for this exciting news. So we do have a commitment now on film, digital space, of Mazda saying new products coming and an outline or defined plan. Of course, this could all change, but glad to see the direction they're heading. And it's not so much that I'm glad to see more electrification or glad to see more EVs. I'm just glad to see more Mazdas because I love everything new about Mazda. And we can keep rolling out more vehicles, help the numbers grow, and get to that 500,000 in America, if not higher than originally expected in the next few years with new updates. Give me more updates, Mazda. That's what we need. I hope we have some new colors in those updates as well. If you have any questions or comments on any of this information or anything Mazda, always drop them down below in the comments. If you want to stay up to date on more information Mazda as it comes, like this video, subscribe to the channel for more Mazda news updates and more product information. More car vids coming soon. And you can text me directly at 334-718-0504. I'll be here on the boulevard listening for all the latest Mazda news. And I'll see you on the next one.